Ichigo awakens by Talacha, Chapter 53, Preparations. With Tatsuki, everything around her was burning, a field of flames that devoured everything in their wake. It was scorching hot and the air was suffocating with the heat. She thought she understood the power of the flames, wielded them in her hand and feet with every punch and kick, and now she felt vulnerable to fire for the first time in so long. She was in her inner world after training to the point that her Asuichi became her Sanpakto. Now she searches for the name of her weapon. She went into her meditative trance, proud and confident, before finding herself in her current situation, feeling herself submit to the fires all around her. Is this really my world? She thought in confusion as she felt her skin burn. How is this my inner world? Fire does not always mean destruction, a voice called out as a massive bright red and orange hawk flew in above her. It can mean that when control is lost, but it can be so much more. She spoke in a gentle tone that hid a fearsome to it. Something you have yet to understand. Toski stared at the majestic and beautiful creature entranced by the dancing flames of its body. When it finished talking, she asked her question. Are you my Sanpakto spirit? She started, staring directly into the bird's eyes. I am, she responded, quickly and simply. My name is... She spoke, but the final words were lost to Tatsuki. I guess you don't think I'm ready to learn your name, she said, somewhere between angry and insulted and disappointed. Figures it wouldn't be that easy. It's not entirely whether I think that, more whether you do, the bird said, earning confusion from her wielder. You're still haunted from that day you encountered that wrong car. Tatsuki listened as the spirit continued. You envy the others in your squad for being able to charge in without hesitation or fear. Their confidence in their strength. You even believe you're weaker than Orihime. Tatsuki's eyes widened at that statement. She began in anger, forcing the flames to become more intense and burn her harshly. What are you in this group? Her spirit asked, still calm in spite of the growing inferno. The girl that punches things, the straight martial artist. There's a small list of what Ichigo is not capable of. Uryu can keep up with him. Chat can do what you do and is able to tank almost anything. Even Orihime is matching you as a fighter who can summon spirits to do most any task. Tatsuki could only listen, her fury feeding the fires around her as each statement reminded her of something she didn't like to think about. You consider yourself the weak link. I'm not denying you anything. You are a glass cannon, a tower built on a poor foundation. A single good strike will break you. She said as Tatsuki felt herself break out of her trance and onto her back, gasping for breath. Not a pleasant experience, I take it. Yoruichi asked, looking at her shaken disciple on the ground. Tatsuki didn't respond as she struggled to her feet, her short Sanpakto blade in her hand as she faced her teacher with a look of shaky determination. Again. With Chad. Enough, Chad said as he dispelled his fullbringer, his fingers rubbing his medallion and smiling at the progress they've made. He and the other fullbringers returned to the world of the living to continue their search for the others like them and training their developing skills. This has been good progress, Sato, and Jackie said, examining her boots. Jackie's dirty boots enveloped her entire body, along with the ability to make them as dirty as possible on her own, as well as a new power, a perfect defense to match her offense, which unfortunately must reset every time she switches modes. As much as I am glad to exchange my own abilities, I must admit my skepticism to simply turn into a hulking brute, Guriku said as he looked over his new armor, white plating on his left shoulder and right thigh with a single arrow pointing up and down respectively on them. He was also curious about the many floating clocks floating behind him like a halo, wondering their meaning. Maybe it has something to do with my contracts with time. Sato was stronger than you. It was stronger than you anyway. Ruruka said, wearing bunny ears on her hat and wearing a white armor on her legs and chest with large fist guards on her arms with yellow prongs and heart emblems on her fist. Not sure how much help I'll be in a fight. All I seem to do is stick things in plushies. ever thought that you could be the squad's jailer? Yukio suggested, having come over to simply give them a new training area while the others worked. He gave them a copy of the training room under the shoten where they trained themselves to unlock their potential. That would be useful. No way, jailers aren't cute, Riruka denied almost immediately, earning a groan of annoyance from her fellow Fullbringers. Cute doesn't seduce the strawberry, sexy does, Jackie yelled out. You should try being sexy. The two women soon developed to what amounted to pointless arguing, while the guys did their best to ignore them. I could probably take them off your hands too, if you wanted, Yuko suggested, causing Chad to shake his head. You're doing us enough favors by taking that Shishikawa guy, he said, standing up while the game room dissipated. Things seem to be coming to a head out there anyway. The air itself feels tense. With Orihime. I got this, Orihime panted, covered in sweat, dirt, and bruises, while keeping her focus on two floating orbs, one that was fire while the other was water, both working in tandem against her. Flying at her side was the Shunshunrika spirits, fully grown to human size in response to a proper bond with their mistress. Each shield was able to act independently with each other, able to split into multiple spirits. The balls of ringing fire and swirling water reacted to her boast of by starting their next attack. Hinagiguku Lily. Right, the two defensive spirits called out as each turned into a shield to block a torrent of water or flare of fire, keeping her will steadfast as she managed to hold the attack off, though she did feel a drain on her energy. Koten Koshin, Orihime reacted as Bagan and Tsubaki returned into spirits and resembled into Orihime's reflective blades. Come on, she yelled out, raising her blade to the elemental spheres, glaring at them, confident and defiant. The fire and water dissipated to reveal Arjante's humanoid figures, red and blue, and dressed in the respective element of fire and water. There was a playful glint in their eyes as the fire spirit charged first, a blade made of flames in its hand as it charged at the budding exorcist. She blocked the attack and reflected the force and fire, only managing to make the spirit bounce back with its twin attacker, her form behind him. She barely had time to react as the trident made of water found its mark and sent her tumbling with a torrent of water. Ayame was immediately at her side and resorting to her to a healing state. Orihime racked her brain trying to think of something while Tsubaki, 5 other spirits, tried attacking the two elementals, which was proving ineffective. Elemental spirits are always upper echelon spirits, Shuno explained as she joined Orihime's side. Perhaps you should stop and try again later. Orihime grit her teeth in anger at the thought that she was still weak. She was next to useless in soul society, couldn't bring herself to fight the Arankar, and wasn't even that involved with everything else that happened. She swore to herself that she was going to be helpful to her allies, useful to Ichigo, become someone that was worth standing by her friends. It was then that she noticed something while Tsubaki's many attacks were flying around the two elementals. They got close but never touched, even flinching when they almost brushed against the other. Duh, she mentally admonished herself before lifting up her sword again and charging into the fray. The two spirits noticed her and fired the sphere of their elements at her, making her stop as the attacks came to her. Got to do it right, she told herself as she focused. Time seemed to slow to a crawl as the balls of fire and water came within range of her. She swung her blade at the ball of flames first. The second she felt the attack be reflected, she guided it towards the water elemental. Once she was satisfied with the alteration of the attack's reflection, she repeated with the other sphere, she just barely managing to catch it before it struck her. Time returned to normal for her as the attacks went to the elemental opposite, exploding into clouds of steam filled with ethereal screams. Bygone Lily, Sentencushion, Prism, she called out, causing the two to split into their shield spirits and turn into a triangular prism, trapping the elemental inside. Tsubaki, Koten Sanshushin, Waltz, she called out, determined to make this the finale of the fight. Tsubaki's 6 spirits entered the prism and struck with lightning speed to the two elementals, passing through both to ensure damage to each spirit. Orihime powered the attack for as long as she felt comfortable, with both ending the assault and freeing the two, letting them drown drop into a weakening unconscious heap. She flickered her wrist and brought out two sealing paper charms before throwing them at the two. The papers attached to their head while Lorkirin finished her spell. "Seal," she said simply as the two were absorbed into the seal tags. She watched as the papers floated to the ground harmlessly. She dropped to her knees and tried to catch her breath. "Did you have to make it so hard, you two?" she cried out with a pout as many versions of the elementals appeared before her. Yes, we did," the fire spirit said as it looked at its twin. "You wanted to control us. You're the first person to make any use out of those six," the water spirit said, pointing to the Shunshunrika as they shrunk down. "We can't remember the last time someone realized their true strength. Had to make sure you were the real deal," the fire one said with a chuckle. "That's because there was no last time," Tsubaki said with evident anger. The two elementals merely nodded in response. "Anyway, you passed our test," the blue spirit said with a bow. "Ignis and Aqua accept this contract," he said as a pair of rings, blue and red, appeared on Hermes' right index and middle finger. "Be sure to get the other two soon, master." "I hope we get along," Orihime said with a smile before falling over from exhaustion. "Shuno, Ayane, Soten Kishin," she called out, making the healing shields sigh. With Uryu. "You're offering to help?" Uryu asked, standing across from Bazard Blackham. "Why?" Basby gave Uryu the message that he wanted to talk with him alone, having a bit more faith in a fellow Quincy rather than the hybrid cousin currently in Soul Society. They were both in the fourth felt and away from prying eyes for Bass's sake. He felt safer there, free to talk. "I'll be honest, I still feel loyal to His Majesty, but I'm not as blind to simply accept whatever he does." The heat as he looked said as he looked at the mixed blood in the face. "What you said about Yopa and what he did, it kind of hit a little close to home for me. So, in the end, you're right about me. I'd rather be on the side that ensures I'll live," he said, earning a raised eyebrow from Uryu. The bespectacled teen looked up to the trees and thought, wondering how to move the situation to his team's benefit. "Okay," he said, after making his plans. "Let's talk. What are some of the Stenrich's abilities?" He got the full overview from Tsukishima, but there was something else to this conversation for him. "Any new techniques we should be aware of? What makes a Stenricher? What is it about you guys that makes you elite?" We have medallion seals that take away a Bankai. Ambassador started a power up state called the Voltstandig and a litter shrift. That's what we believe will tip the scales in our favor. Swift, Uryu asked, trying to press for more information. "Yes, we drink in some of His Majesty's blood, which allows him to carve a letter into our soul. That becomes our shrift. So is that only for pure-blooded Quincy? So is that why only pure-blooded Quincy were spared for the holy selection?" he asked, glancing to the trees. "Yep, we were born with our power," Bassett answered before looking confused. "Wait, was that it?" "Yeah, you drink your boss blood and he carves in you shrift," Uryu said, trying to keep the stone focused. That's what you said?" Basby looked confused before he shrugged it off. "Yeah, okay," he continued, though he was slightly shaken. "He carves letter onto our soul and determines what the letter is for. My own is H, which is for heat, and I can utilize fire any heat hotter than the sun. And he determines that?" Uryu asked again while glazing upwards. I was always a hothead, and I just loved fire," he said with a nostalgic smile before looking confused again. "That's not right. What was I? How did you obtain this Volt Stinger? How did you obtain this Volstandig?" Uryu quickly changed the subject, knocking the H out of his confusion. "Each and every one of us used the Let Still and had our powers restored," he said, grimacing in pain slightly, trying to mimic that feeling of the Let Still. We try to manipulate the ambient reishi to bring us to a higher powered state, reaching out with every bit of our use with ourselves to clothe ourselves in energy. There's a theoretical higher level, but no one even knows how to get to it. No one thinks it matters now." Well, this has been entertaining, Uryu said. Try to end the talk while looking at the trees. I'll be sure to tell Ichigo and the others what you told me. You sure you're all right with spying on Yobaha? Why not? Basbird scoffed. He's not my king. Wait, he said before grasping his hidden pain. Why did I say that? Uryu placed a hand on the senator's shoulder. That headache seems pretty severe. Maybe you should go lay down. Uryu suggested, getting a nod from the heat. Yeah, that sounded good. He said, stumbling for a second before disappearing in a burst of speed. Uryu waited for a couple of seconds before nodding, and Tsukishima appeared at his side. Was that a success? He asked the Fullbringer as he returned his bookmark to his book. It gave some credence to my theory, but I can't be too sure if it'll work or not. Tsukushima told him as he mulled over his personal findings. I've always done some memories to suit my desires, but nothing on this scale. If it works, then Ichigo and myself will be better equipped to fight Yoba. Uryu reminded him, stressing the importance of the test. You said Ichigo can manifest his Quincy powers, correct? The reader asked the archer, earning a nod of confirmation. Tsukishima led a devious smirk across his features. I might have an idea. The next day, same day as Yamato's surprise test, Uryu was flying through the air, snapping down masses of low-level hollows that came out of nowhere. That was a mild annoyance to what else was going on. According to reports, there were two instances of an unsanctioned Senkomana opening, with an investigation finding 3 different gakis with Ryotsu separation properties, while the other revealed a trio with a carriage that was making a great effort to stay hidden. Adding to that was the recent information that Ishin got from the commander. A scion of nobility was in danger of an illegal weapons dealer that could put all of society at risk. And they just got their memories back, and they had another mess to deal with. To make matters worse, he was wondering why he was ordered by Ishin to look more like a Shinigami / Quincy. And no, Ishin had no reason other than because a black version of what he wore when infiltrating society with blue lines. It was too hot for him for form-fitting black. At least the squad is really coming into its own. Udi remarked, watching the battalion of Soul Reapers cutting down the hollows with ease. Even some of the Fullbringers were helping. Jackie backing up Chad as they crushed their enemies. But where did that bait come from? He said, thinking back to another unexplained Reishi building up that was reminiscent of Hollow Beta. Are those 3 unknowns involved? Excuse me, he heard a young girl's voice call out to him. He looked down to see a person with a wide brim hat with a veil hiding her face, wearing a pink floor kimono that seemed to be of high quality. Are you one of the Soul Reapers of this town? Uryu felt his eye twitch, not sure how he was supposed to feel about being called a Soul Reaper, but he dropped down to speak to the girl. My name is Uru Yoshida, and I am the 3rd seat of Squad 15. The archer greeted her calmly. Would I be correct in assuming that you are Ruricho Katsumiji? The girl nodded before walking towards him. Since you know who I am, I require your assistance in bring me something to eat. She started showing disregard to his position before tripping over her feet and onto the ground. Ow! She groaned as her veil came off, revealing her long blonde hair held back by a band and green eyes. Cute kid. That veil looked ridiculous anyway. Uryu quipped, making his way to the noble and helping her up. She quickly realized the situation before trying to look as dignified as possible to the Quincy and making her demands known as dozens more hollows cried out in hunger. Now, bring me some to eat, and quickly, she ordered, not realizing he wasn't paying attention as he scanned the sky. Are you listening to me? The noble demanded furiously. People usually say please before asking for something, he said dryly as he spotted 2 Shinigami not belonging to his squad being chased by several hollows. And I don't play caretaker to a selfish brat that can't say one simple word. I'm more of a tailor. He conjured his bow and took aim, trying to ignore the girl's whining about her hunger and demands for food. Shut up, he growled, releasing part of his reiatsu and quieting down the girl as he could focus. Two in front to avoid killing, roughly 20 hollows behind them, closing in the distance from almost half a kilometer. Child's play without distractions. He realized his shot, and multiple arrows flew fast and true, grazing the two Shinigami to the limit of trimming their hair and lighter scratches. They landed in front of Uryu as he stood protectively in front of Ruriichio. One had short hair and ice blue eyes, while the other had a small patch of hair in the shape of a lightning bolt and looked bigger than Chatham. Ruriocho Kasumioji, you are to be taken into the protective custody of Squad 15 during your stay in the world of the living, he said to the princess, earning a glare from the two likely bodyguards of the noble. Who do you think you are, peasant? The smaller of the two growled. They then felt a crushing spiritual pressure as someone they couldn't refuse came to the scene. He is one of my third seats, and he is acting on my orders. The pair looked behind them to see the mildly annoyed captain of the 15th squad, and I'm acting on orders from the old man. Illustrated guide to Soul Reapers. Zombie thriller. Maybe I should take some pain meds before going to bed. Basby sighed as he made his way home. Occasional throbs of pain hitting him as he tried to figure out what happened to him earlier with Uryu. Man, what a headache! He reached his shared home with his fellows and pulled the door open. Because this is a thriller night. He watched the scene in front of him because he didn't think it was real. Giselle was dressed like the king of pop and doing the thriller dance in his hideout with an army of zombie animal critters. He simply shut the door and started walking towards the hospital. Or I have a brain tumor. Better go check. Training continues. So Urahara and Mayuri were at the training site where Rukia Homura and Shizuku were training to control their hollow mask along with the other visors. The siblings were able to hold their mask for minutes while Rukia barely managed half of one. They were watching gathering data when an important question was asked. I thought you said you had a new training method for them, Rose asked, flinching when Rukia took a hard kick to the face. I told Hiyori about it earlier. Kisuke admitted drinking some tea. It's called grievously injuring someone until they leave you alone or get stronger and take credit for it. Hiyori then kicked Rukia into a crater that was followed by a low groan of pain. Ichigo's going to kill you later, Shinji warned, happy to not be on the receiving end of Hiyori's tantrum for once. I know, still, fun to watch. End of chapter 53.